In this video, we'll discuss the CAD tools. CAD, C-A-D, stands for Computer Aided Drafting. Here in your drop-down menu, under CAD, you have points, lines, arcs, circles, boxes, and spline. These are all 2D CAD objects. You also have those same tools here in your toolbar. Points, lines, arcs, circles, boxes, and the spline. I'll start here by drawing a line. I'll click on the Line Tool parent tool. And again, over here on my left-hand side, you'll see all of the child tools that belong to the Line Tool parent tool. When I select that parent tool, the first tool in the child tools is automatically activated. To draw a line, I'm simply going to left-click here in my screen and drag to draw the line. And you'll notice that with my crosshairs, I no longer see that white arrow. If the white arrow is not showing with your crosshairs, that indicates that you have a tool active. To get back to selection mode, you can click on the arrow key over here, or the hotkey for that is to simply hit your spacebar. Hitting your spacebar is like opening your hands. If you have a tool in your hands, it will drop the tool. If you have selected an object and hit your spacebar, it will drop the object. When I click on this line, you'll notice two things. The line itself now has edit handles. It has the end edit handles that will allow you to extend the line or shorten it. You also have the move edit handle, the edit handle in the middle, and note the two-way arrow. The two-way arrow indicates which direction I can move this entire line. I can move it up and down, but if I move my cursor over to the right or over to the left, the line itself will not move. You also have the same line type edit handle, the diamond beyond the end of the line. If I click and drag this edit handle straight down, it'll simply draw another line and connect it to the first line right at their endpoints. You also have the rotate edit handle, which is a triangle beyond the object. If I select this edit handle, I can rotate this object by clicking and dragging in a circle. Once I have two lines, you'll notice that I have edit handles on both of these lines. Because when you have two lines that are connected at their endpoints, Chief will glue them together as a polyline. Polyline simply means many lines. You'll notice now that the move edit handle is away from one individual line. And I can use this edit handle to move both lines as one object. These are the two directions allowed by angle snaps. If I try to move it in a 45-degree angle, it won't allow it, unless, as I click and drag, I'll hold down my Control key. The Control key will allow it to move freely. On a Mac computer, this will be your Command key. I'll go ahead and use the same line type edit handle and drag in this direction, and then drag it again straight up. Once I have three or more lines that are connected each at their endpoints, the object becomes what's called a closed polyline. Now you'll notice that when I select it, because it's a closed polyline, it'll highlight in pink. And again, I have all the same edit handles. On each edge, I have an edge edit handle that will move it in the direction of the arrow. The corners will reshape the object, because the corner will move, but leave the other corners exactly where they were. If I want to edit one of these lines without editing all three, for instance, if I want to delete this line, I can select that line, and then in my edit toolbar at the bottom, one of my tools is the Disconnect Selected Edge. That will disconnect it from the closed polyline. Now I can delete it without affecting any of the other three lines. The other thing you'll notice when you select an object is you'll get temporary dimensions. The temporary dimension will show up depending on which of the edges I select. And I can use these temporary dimensions to change the size of the object or move this line. So with this line selected, it's active, and you can tell it's active because the square on this edge is larger than the squares on the other three edges. With that edge active, if I select this dimension by clicking right on the number, I can type in a number that I want. When I hit enter, it'll move that line and change the size of the polyline. Now I'll activate this edge, use this dimension, and do the same thing. Simply type in the distance that I want that line to be from the adjacent line. You can draw a square or rectangular polyline by using the box tools. You can use the rectangle polyline. With the rectangular polyline active, I'll simply click where I want to place the first corner and then drag out to where I want to place the opposite corner of the rectangle. The tool stays active, so I can just click and drag and draw another one. These edit handles and many of the edit tools that I'll show you for the CAD tools are applicable when you're drawing anything that is polyline based, and most objects in Chief are polyline based. Let's take a look at some of the edit tools. One of the tools I have in my toolbar is my Break Line tool. If I click on this tool and then click along this edge, I'm creating a break point, or what will be a corner. If I click and drag this out, it'll form a corner. If I select one of the edges on either side of this breakpoint and drag it out, it'll actually create two corners. You can now move any of the corners to reshape the object. Another tool that you have in your Edit toolbar at the bottom of your screen is your Change Line to Arc tool. You'll select the edge that you want to change and make it active, again indicated by the larger square edit handle, and then click on the Change Line to Arc tool. That will change that straight line to an arc. Now you have a couple of different edit handles. If I select the square edit handle, it'll move the entire arc without changing its radius or its endpoint's distance. If I select the circle at the apex of the arc and drag it out, it'll leave the radius of the arc exactly the same, but it'll move the endpoints. Once you've made a change to anything, you can use your Undo tool to undo one building or drawing step. On that arc, I have one other edit handle. The small triangle on the arc will change the radius of the arc without moving the endpoints. The invisible line from this end of the arc to this end is called the chord. Again, I also have the Rotate edit handle. This will rotate the entire object. When you select an object, the Edit toolbar will show up at the bottom of the screen. Each of these edit tools are specific to the object you have selected. These edit tools are discussed in more detail in additional videos. Once you have a closed CAD polyline shaped the way you want it, you can convert it to one of many 3D objects. If we click on the Convert Polyline tool here in the Edit toolbar at the bottom, we can convert this polyline to a countertop, a landing, or one of several other objects. When you convert an object, Chief will open up the specification dialog specific to the object you've converted it to. This will give you the opportunity to give it 3D depth. In this case, this slab that I've converted it to 12 inches thick in the height direction. And now, as you can see in my camera view, I have a 3D object. Additional CAD tools include your point tools. You have your Place Point. If I click on this tool and then click on a spot in the middle of my screen, it'll form an X or a point. A point is not an object that you can select to delete. To delete a point, activate your Select Objects tool and then hit the Delete key on your keyboard. If you have placed several points and you go back to Select mode, if you hit your Delete key repeatedly, it'll remove them in the opposite sequence they were created. You also have, under your Point Tools parent tool, the Delete Temporary Points button. That will delete all the points in the plan. You also have your Arc tool. The Arc tool works very much like the Line tool. You simply click to start the arc and drag to the point where you want it to stop. Once an arc is created, you can select it, change the radius, you can move the chord, you can move the entire object, you can resize it, and of course you can rotate it. You also have circle tools. The circle tool will draw a circle from one end of the diameter to the other end of the diameter. You also have the Circle About Center, where you first click where you want the center of the circle to be, and then drag out to where you want the radius of the circle to end. You also have the Regular Polygon tool. When I click on this, I'll get a new Regular Polygon dialog. You can define it by the side length, the radius to the corner, or radius to the side. If I want to draw an octagon, I'll select 8 sides and then change this to determine the length of each side. Again, this is simply a polyline. It has corners or breakpoints, edge edit handles, the move edit handle, and the rotate edit handle. You also have the spline tool. With the spline tool, you'll simply click and draw a sequence of lines. As soon as I have 2 lines drawn, Chief will use the endpoints of those lines as the arc point for the spline. As I continue to draw lines, Chief will form arcs with each line. And of course you have the move edit handle. You can move the endpoint of each line drawn to change the spline shape, and of course you've got the rotate edit handle. CAD tools and editing CAD objects is discussed in more detail in additional videos.